Hello footy fans, welcome to another episode of Bev's Footy Tips. This one for round 22 of the 2022 AFL season, the second last round of the home and away season. And, we've got a thrilling finish ahead in the last two rounds because there's technically two spots up for grabs in the top 8. I think Richmond should go on to win their last two matches, so they should lock up a top 8 spot, which means that last spot is between Carlton, the Western Bulldogs, and St Kilda, which, like I said, sets up for a thrilling end to the regular season. Anyway, let's get into things. Let's begin with the round 21 winner of the Bev Show tipping comp, and it's a big congratulations to Sanger D, who correctly guessed 8 out of the 9 matches correct, and he was only 2 points off the margin. So Sanger, to you, my friend, whoa, you beauty, you ripper dipper. And this is how the overall leaderboard looks with 2 rounds remaining. Things are very tight. Proud House has the lead with 131 total tips, followed by Cats Fan 17 in second with 130 total tips. We've also got Finman in third, P. Cripps in fourth, and Chris Riggy in fifth. Those tipsters are also on 130 total tips, and there are contenders outside of that. So it's going to be a thrilling last couple of rounds in the Bev Show tipping comp. Let's quickly look back at my round 21 tips and see how many I got right. I tipped Melbourne over Collingwood. I tipped Hawthorn over Gold Coast. I tipped Essendon over GWS. I had a feeling GWS would cause an upset, but I just didn't have the guts to tip them. Anyway, I tipped the Doggies over Fremantle. Doggies were very disappointing, that is for sure. I tipped the Cats over St Kilda. I tipped Port Adelaide over Richmond. I tipped Sydney over North Melbourne. I tipped Brisbane over Carlton. And in the final game of the round, I tipped West Coast over Adelaide. So that was probably my worst round of the season, I reckon. I'm not sure if I've had a round worse than round 21. I only got the 4 out of the 9 matches correct, which is disappointing. It brings me to a total of 124 tips correct this season. Let's now move on to round 22. Round 22 gets underway on Friday night under the roof at Marlboro Stadium. It's St Kilda taking on the Brisbane Lions at 7:50 p.m. St Kilda coming into this game off the back of a loss to Geelong at the Cattery by 45 points. Brisbane coming into this off the back of a win over Carlton by 33 points. That was on Sunday at their home ground, the Gabba. Expecting Brisbane to be too strong in this one, but wouldn't be shocked if St Kilda caused an upset. I reckon they could, but I don't think they will. I think Brisbane should be too good. Brisbane have looked good in the last couple of weeks. I know they lost to Richmond 2 weeks ago after blowing a 42-point lead, but in the first half of that game, they looked really good, and they looked really good for 3 quarters against Carlton last week. So expecting Brisbane to be too strong, going to tip them by 20 points. No, not 200 points, 20 points. The first of the Saturday games is at Marvel Stadium. The Western Bulldogs taking on the Greater Western Sydney Giants. This game getting underway at 1:45 p.m. The Doggies coming into this match off the back of 2 losses in a row. They were very disappointing against Fremantle last weekend. They went down to the Dockers by 17 points. They were so poor defensively in that game. They allowed the Dockers so much space. The uncontested possession numbers, not good reading for the Dogs, 274 to 228. And they're taking on a GWS team who broke their 4-game losing streak by beating Essendon last weekend by 27 points. They were clearly the better team in that game. Of course, these two teams meet for the second time this season. They met back in round 14. It was the Dogs by 20 points in one of the best games of the season. It was a high-scoring affair. The Dogs have won the last 3 games against GWS, and the Giants are going to be without Toby Green and Taranto. That is 2 big outs for GWS. So, look, I'm hoping the Dogs can get the job done. I'm going to back them in to do so. They're going to have to win their last 2 to give themselves any chance of making the finals. And even if they do win their last 2, they're no guarantee because they've got to rely on Carlton losing their last 2 and St Kilda losing their last 2, or one of their last 2. The other Saturday afternoon game is at the Adelaide Oval. It's the Adelaide Crows taking on North Melbourne. These two teams meet for the second time this season. They met back in round 15 at Blundstone Arena, and Adelaide got the job done by 57 points. And I think they'll get the job done again on Saturday. I'm tipping them to win quite convincingly. They've won their last 2, the Crows, so they're going well, and they should be beating North Melbourne, who have lost their last 3 after beating Richmond 4 weeks ago. So Crows, my tip in that one. The 4:35 p.m. game on Saturday is between the Gold Coast Suns and Geelong at Metricon Stadium. Gee, the Gold Coast Suns, they're up against it here, aren't they? Taking on a Geelong team who have won their last 11 games. They're top of the ladder. They're premiership favourites in my eyes. They're the team to beat right now, and they should be winning this game. Although the Gold Coast Suns, they're usually quite competitive at Metricon Stadium, or this season anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game is closer than you think, but the Cats should be too strong for the Suns. The first of 2 Saturday night matches at the MCG. It's Melbourne taking on Carlton at 7:25 p.m. Both teams coming off losses. Melbourne lost to Collingwood by a narrow 7 points last Friday night in a game where they had more inside 50s. They dominated clearances. They basically won most of the stats except the stat that matters, and that's the scoreboard. And they're taking on a Carlton team who have lost their last 2. They are clinging on to dear life right now inside the top 8. I reckon if they win at least one of their last 2, though, the Blues, they'll make finals. So if they can win this game on Saturday night, then I think they make finals. But if they go on to lose their last 2, well, obviously they're relying on the Dogs losing their last 2 and St Kilda also losing games as well, losing their last 2. So the Blues clinging on for dear life right now inside the 8. They're going to be without Paddy Cripps. They've got other injuries as well. Hewitt comes to mind, as well as Kennedy. So they're up against it here, expecting Melbourne to be too strong. Hoping for a good game, though. I wouldn't mind seeing the Blues take it up to the Ds, but yeah, I'm expecting the Ds to be too strong for the Blue Baggers. The other Saturday night match is in the West at Optus Stadium in Perth. It's the Derby, or the Derby, whatever you want to call it. Fremantle taking on the West Coast Eagles, 7:40 p.m. start time. Keeping this short and sharp, I'm expecting the Dockers to be too strong. They were terrific in the win over the Dogs last weekend, and I'm expecting them to produce more of the same on Saturday night. They did meet back in round 3, these two teams, and Freo got the job done by 55 points. I think it might be a closer game maybe, but, the Dockers, they should be getting the job done by 20 plus points at least. The first of 3 Sunday matches, it's Richmond taking on Hawthorn at the MCG. This game getting underway at 1:10 p.m. Hawthorn, they've won 4 of their last 5, and they're coming off a win in Launceston over the Suns. They're taking on a Richmond team who have won their last 2 games. They're finding some form now, the Tigers, and they look like they're going to play finals in 2022. I did say off the top that I expect the Tigers to win their last 2 games, so obviously I'm going to tip the Tigers in this one. These two teams met in round 9 of this season, and Richmond got the job done by 23 points, expecting the Tigers to get the job done on Sunday. The mid-Sunday afternoon game is a ripper. It's the game of the round by far. It's the Sydney Swans taking on Collingwood. It's 4th v 2nd at the SCG, 3:20 p.m. start time. What a game this is set to be. The Swans have won their last 5. Collingwood have won their last 11. They got the job done over Melbourne last Friday night. I loved the last 5 minutes when they were able to lock the ball in their forward half, not allow the Ds to get it out. It was a great victory for the Pies last weekend. The Swans, well, I questioned whether they would make the 8 about a month or so ago, but they've really found some form with 5 wins in a row. They look like a genuine top 4 team, and they look like a premiership threat, the Swans, and I think they are capable of beating Collingwood here, but I tipped against the Pies last weekend, and they maybe look like a fool. So, yeah, this game could go either way, but given it's at the SCG and given the form of the Swans, I'm going to tip the Swans, but I'm tipping with caution because Collingwood, they can make it 12 wins in a row on Sunday. They can. They probably will, but I'm tipping against them again. I'm tipping the Swans. I just feel like, yeah, they might be the team to, beat Collingwood. And the final game of round 22 is at Marvel Stadium. It's Essendon taking on Port Adelaide at 4:40pm. This should be an interesting game to round out the second last round of the home and away season. These two teams did meet back in round 11, and Port Adelaide got the job done by 16 points, but they've lost their last 4, Port Adelaide. And they're taking on an Essendon team who have won more than they've lost in this second half of the season. But gee, they were disappointing against the Giants last weekend. They went down to the Giants by 27 points. I can see why the Bombers are favourites because it's at Marvel Stadium, but I need to tip an upset in this round. So I'm going to tip Port Adelaide to beat Essendon. They have beaten Essendon in the last 4 encounters. So I'm going to back Port Adelaide in to get the job done at Marvel in the final game of the round. But that's a game that could go either way. So just recapping my round 22 tips. I've tipped Brisbane by 20. I've tipped the Dogs, the Crows, the Cats, Melbourne, Fremantle, Richmond, Sydney, and Port Adelaide. And there you go, footy fans. That's another episode of Bev's Footy Tips done and dusted for round 22. I do hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below your tips for the upcoming round. And don't forget to press that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the videos that I upload to the Bev Show YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, bye for now, and go the mighty Bulldogs!